Justice, in theory, protects victims and punishes offenders. For Sylvia and Junko, justice utterly failed. Sylvia Likens died in 1965, tortured inside an Indiana home by Gertrude Benishevsky and neighborhood children. Junko Furuta was murdered in 1988, held captive in Tokyo for 44 days of horror. Despite unimaginable cruelty, both cases ended with shockingly lenient sentences for perpetrators. In Sylvia's case, Gertrude received life imprisonment but was later paroled after only 20 years. Her daughter Paula, equally cruel, received a reduced sentence and quietly reintegrated into society. The neighborhood children involved received shockingly light punishments, despite participating in torture sessions. Survivors of Sylvia's abuse continued ordinary lives, while Sylvia remained forever silenced in her grave. For Junko, Japanese juvenile law shielded her tormentors, labeling them youthful offenders. Despite horrific crimes, the ringleader received less than 20 years, walking free while Junko's family carried unending grief. Other boys received even lighter punishments, some as little as 8 years for unimaginable cruelty. Public outrage erupted in Japan, condemning the system for prioritizing criminals over the victim's memory. Newspapers described sentences as a second betrayal of Junko, denying her true justice. Families and activists demanded harsher laws for juvenile offenders committing crimes beyond comprehension. Similar outrage emerged in Sylvia's case, where communities saw leniency as injustice compounded. Americans asked how a mother could torture a child and ever walk free again. Japanese citizens questioned how gang members could commit barbarity yet serve sentences shorter than murder norms. In both nations, law treated the cruelty as ordinary crime, ignoring its unique brutality. The justice systems valued technical definitions over the human suffering inflicted on 2 young girls. Instead of accountability, perpetrators exploited loopholes designed to protect youth or women from harsher sentences. These protections, meant for rehabilitation, became shields for monsters hiding behind legal technicalities. Sylvia's case revealed systemic flaws. Parole boards prioritizing rehabilitation instead of victims' voices. Junko's case showed cultural hesitation to brand teenagers as irredeemable despite evidence of sadistic intent. Both outcomes shocked the public, eroding trust in legal systems meant to uphold fairness. Victims' families expressed despair, realizing courts treated killers' futures more important than victims' lost lives. Justice promised closure, yet instead reopened wounds, leaving families with unbearable bitterness. Survivors described hearings as a performance, where perpetrators displayed remorse only for leniency. Their apologies lacked sincerity, designed for legal benefit rather than true acknowledgement of guilt. Courts accepted these apologies, granting reductions despite overwhelming evidence of sadistic pleasure in torture. Justice, in both countries, chose leniency over accountability, betraying victims twice, first in life, then death. Sylvia's killers reintegrated, some changing names, hiding pasts, blending into communities unaware of their crimes. Junko's killers resurfaced in society, some even reoffending, proving sentences failed deterrence or reform. Families faced lifelong horror knowing killers walked free, unmarked, while their daughters lay in graves. Justice systems delivered paperwork, not healing, statistics, not accountability, betraying basic principles of fairness. Outrage spurred movements demanding stronger sentences for child abuse and heinous juvenile crimes. America toughened child protection laws, though Sylvia's case still felt like unfinished business. Japan debated reforming juvenile law. Though critics argued little changed for victims like Junko, both girls became symbols. Their names invoked in debates about reform and justice. Their stories entered classrooms, documentaries, and legal discussions as cautionary tales of systemic failure. Activists insisted remembering them ensured no future child suffered betrayal of law twice. Yet, decades later, anger persists, survivors asking why monsters walked free so easily. Justice without accountability feels hollow, leaving wounds open for families and societies alike. Victims' voices, silenced in death, rely on us to demand stronger legal protections today. Their killers lived, aged, and disappeared into society, while Sylvia and Junko stayed eternal teenagers. Unequal punishments across borders reveal a shared global problem. Law underestimating cruelty against children. Courts measured years, not trauma. Sentences, not memories. Rehabilitation, not justice for victims lost. Justice spoke legal language, not human compassion. ignoring screams that lasted until final breaths. Families begged courts to remember the girl's suffering, yet heard excuses about technical limitations. Law protected perpetrators' futures while victims' futures were stolen permanently. These failures prove justice systems sometimes serve criminals, not communities they claim to protect. The world learned Sylvia's and Junko's killers could live freely, but innocence could never return. Both cases warn us. Legal systems must prioritize victims, not statistics, loopholes, or rehabilitation myths. Compassion must outweigh bureaucracy when crimes involve unimaginable cruelty against children. Laws should reflect severity, not protect criminals due to age or status. Justice delayed or diluted is no justice at all for grieving families. Outrage itself became legacy. People worldwide share Sylvia and Junko's names to demand change. Survivors dedicate books, films, and online campaigns ensuring their suffering teaches future generations. These tragedies inspire global activism, uniting voices for stronger protections against violence and abuse. From Indiana to Tokyo, failures echo as reminders of universal flaws in justice systems. Cruelty knows no borders. Neither should reform or responsibility. Sylvia's and Junko's cases highlight urgency of international discussions on juvenile sentencing reform. They remind us law must evolve with understanding of cruelty's lasting impact. Without reform, victims remain unprotected, families betrayed, and society complicit in silence. Their killers' freedom is society's shame, proof of systemic indifference to true justice. Victims deserve dignity in memory, not abandonment in legal technicalities. Legal systems should amplify victims' voices louder than perpetrators' excuses. Reform means treating extraordinary cruelty with extraordinary accountability regardless of offenders' age. Families deserve closure grounded in fairness, not excuses about rehabilitation potential. Both Sylvia and Junko represent why justice must balance mercy with responsibility. Without responsibility, mercy becomes cruelty toward victims' families. The law must evolve so no other child endures their fate without accountability. Remembering their cases pressures systems to prioritize human suffering over legal formality. We honor victims by ensuring failures are never repeated again. Reform requires courage from lawmakers, judges, and communities alike. Silence and inaction allow cruelty and injustice to persist unchecked. Their killers escaped true justice, but their stories ignite global determination for reform. The girls' names symbolize a movement larger than borders or legal systems. Sylvia Likens and Junko Furuta remain eternal reminders of law's responsibility to protect. Their suffering compels humanity to demand accountability from justice everywhere. Even decades later, anger fuels advocacy, proving memory holds more power than time. True justice honors victims, not excuses perpetrators' youth, gender, or rehabilitation potential. We must demand systems reflect compassion for victims, not indulgence for offenders. Without action, history repeats cruelty under different names, places, and decades. Justice must mean accountability, not leniency disguised as mercy. Their killers' freedom remains injustice written in bold letters across history. Families left behind still ache, teaching us wounds of injustice never fully heal. These cases remind us cruelty's memory endures longer than perpetrators' prison sentences. Honoring Sylvia and Junko means protecting future children from systemic betrayal. Every listener becomes part of ensuring their suffering is not forgotten or repeated. Justice failed them, but remembering ensures society learns from failure. Their names now carry responsibility, not just sorrow. Sylvia Likens and Junko Furuta deserve remembrance beyond legal technicalities. Their legacy demands real justice, accountability, reform, and compassion stronger than cruelty.